Yeah, this is Ref Watch. What a weekend for VAR. Lots to forget, lots of controversy. Kevin Campbell and Sue Smith are like coiled springs alongside Dermot this morning. The first question then, an overarching one. Since the introduction of VAR, was Saturday the single worst day for it?
It was certainly the one we look back on and think, well, we can learn the most from. I think that's the thing. What's happened has happened, Rob. You can't get that back. It's all about what you learn from it and what you take forward to make yourself better, to ensure it doesn't happen on Wednesday and forward from there when the next set of fixtures start. And
what will the key lessons that Howard Webb will be pushing to his officials that should be learnt from Saturday particularly?
Well, a number of things. I think certainly with the Brentford one is, irrespective of how much time you've taken, if you need another 30 seconds, which I think that's all it would have taken, use it, because we'd rather use that 30 seconds and got the right decision than use 3 minutes and got the wrong decision. I think with the Brighton one, it's all about, if you're going to tell the operative to lock in the lines, make sure in your mind that you're accurate, that you know where they are, where they're going to be, and at that point say, yeah, I'm happy with that, and go.
It's the imperfect storm then, isn't it? Because you've done two things. You've taken loads of time and you've got it wrong, which should never be happening. You either do one or the other. You get it right, or you can't take 4 minutes and it still be wrong.
No. But I think the problem, Rob, is that the problem at the end, getting it wrong, was a consequence of the 3 minutes. And I really do believe in his head that he's probably thought, you know, I've just taken so long and I've come to no conclusion, there's no offside, I've taken all this time. And he's just overlooked the pass. It's just a human error. I think a human error brought on by the fact that that time is eating away and eating away and eating away. And there's no doubt about it. You've been at football matches like I have. 3 minutes is an eternity to a spectator. You can hear them, you know, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. And that's got to play on his mind. He's thinking, right, I can close this off now. And as I say, he's closed it off just that little bit too early.
There are a few questions then about the process that I would ask that have come from things that you would say. One, I think, is a question I've asked you before, is that if you're saying that three minutes is long in a stadium, when can we get to hearing a little bit of what's going on? Because fans would maybe, it would feel easier if during that 3 minutes you're seeing the thought process of Lee Mason, or hearing it rather.
Yeah. Well, the advent of that started over the weekend, and we had the final that Anthony Taylor refereed in Morocco. The feedback will come from FIFA about that. They're in charge of the VAR, remember. They decide the protocol. The Premier League can't go their own way. So they feed back, well, this is work, we're willing to go this far. So I think the Premier League, Howard Webb and his leadership team will be over that. They'll be looking at this. When can we use this to help us? When can we use this to move forward? Because I think the Premier League are the most forward-thinking league in the world. I think what they do, the minute they think something's going to work and it's going to benefit the league, it's going to benefit the referees, it's going to benefit the game, they will act.
Just want to come back to the Arsenal game in a moment, but we're going to talk about consequence a little bit later on for officials when they make mistakes. Well, John Brooks was due to be the VAR at the Merseyside derby tonight. He was also due to be the VAR for Arsenal against Manchester City on Wednesday evening. He will not be doing either of those games. How do you respond to that?
Well, that's obviously something they've discussed yesterday. I imagine Howard on Saturday night would have spoken to all the officials. He would have spoken to John Moss and Martin Atkinson, his assistants, and said, look, what are we going to do? What are we going to do for the best? It might just be they've spoken to John and John feels upset. I don't know. I haven't spoken to any of the four, but it may well be that they've spoken to John and John feels upset that this has happened and he doesn't feel in the right frame of mind. It could be that. It could be the fact that they want to give him time just to get it out of his system. It could be for a number of reasons, but you know what I would say, I think it's marvellous that they've acted fast. You know, you said they've called a meeting tomorrow. I think that's the real plus point, Rob, that they've acted positively, and they've acted in a time before the next set of fixtures, so it can be rolled out, it can be explained to the media, it can be explained to the clubs that this is what's going to happen, this is how we're going to deal with it, and this is how we're going to make sure we don't be in the same position Wednesday night or Saturday afternoon.
Just to come to a couple of points then about the process of that decision to allow Ivan Toney's goal. My first question would be that Lee Mason has an assistant, Adrian Holmes. Why is he not saying you need to check Norgard as well as Pinnock in terms of being offside?
I don't really know, to be honest. You know, I'm not fudging this. I don't know. Again, I wonder if he's been sucked into the same vacuum, if you like, that You know, we've spent 3 minutes, and not that we found nothing, but the temptation to say, look, we spent 3 minutes for what? Because it wasn't offside. And as I say, if they had pushed on that little bit further, they would have got the right decision, no doubt about it. But it happened.
The second question would be then, talk me through the process that Lee and Adrian would be going through. Is it always done chronologically? I.e., would it not be easier in this scenario to go backwards and that you see Norgard is offside first, and therefore Ethan Pinnock and whatever he's doing becomes irrelevant because Christian Norgard's offside?
Well, again, they have the process. You and I spoke before we came on set, and you know, we both said, in our mind, we thought it was easy to go, Ivan Toney scored. Is he offside? No. Default to Norgard crossed the ball. Is he offside? Yes. End of story. You know, that's the easy bit, and we saw that, we discussed that. But in their process, it's take it from the free kick, it comes in. That's how they do it. Again, tomorrow, there may be a move to say, well, are we going to look at it a different way? You don't know. All I'd say, I'm a glass half full man. You know, if positive things come out of it for Wednesday night and Saturday, it's a painful lesson, but it's a lesson well learned.
Certainly painful for Arsenal supporters, Kevin.
Yeah. I'm hearing all this. And to be honest, whether you go whichever way you go, it's offside. So Pinnock's offside, Norgard's offside. And for me, the fact of the matter is this could have serious consequences in the title run in for Arsenal. But I often say to myself, how many things does a VAR official have to do? He doesn't have a lot of things to do. And even when you show the footage, you can see Norgard trying to get himself back onside. So obviously that should take the eyes of the VAR official. But to say, for the head to come out and say that he's forgotten to draw the line, it's either one or two things. You don't forget to draw the line. That's part of your job. So it's either you deliberately don't do it, or you've forgotten. And if you've forgotten to do it, you're not fit to do the job. That's as far as I'm concerned. And that's not just because I'm an Arsenal fan. That should be across the board.
I don't think we would ever say or could ever say, Dermot, that it would be done deliberately. And what you were just saying about John Brooks is that they care. Officials don't just go home, I assume, and chuck their bag and think, well, I absolutely made a mess of that today, let's have a glass of wine. They all care about making mistakes.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I've had nights when I've driven back and it's been torturous. You know, you're going back 2, 3, 4 hours in your car and it's the worst journey of your life because you think that hasn't gone well. And you need one of two things. You need one of your friends to ring you and really pick you up, you know, to say, look, don't dwell on that, Derm. Remember all the good days you had, you know, and, you know, really highlight what you've done so it picks you back up. Or you need a game straight away to get back into it. And, you know, that's how I was, you know. It's either somebody pick me up quickly and get me over it or give me another game quickly. But not everybody's the same. Some people want to take time. We're all different, Rob, and as I say, maybe John Brooks wants that time, I don't know. I'm sure every Premier League club will have supporters who say, well, it always goes against us, or it always goes against us. But Arsenal will feel there have been a couple, the Gabriel Martinelli goal that was disallowed earlier in the season, that there have been decisions that have not gone their way.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, Arsenal fans will feel aggrieved, obviously. This one is really egregious because, yeah, Arsenal weren't playing well. Brentford were playing well at the time. And sometimes when you're going for a title, you get your noses in front and you win the game 1-0. You take it. But for somebody to not do their job correctly and for it to cost the team, I think, you know, this isn't just an apology as far as I'm concerned. It should be a lot more. But we don't know what actually happens to officials who do things like that, or probably forgets to do his job.
Well, that is why Dermot Gallagher is here, to answer the question, what happens to officials like that, because I was watching the Villa game with friends yesterday and was asked the question, well, what happens if a referee or a VAR makes mistakes? Because we've seen it with on-field officials that they may be sent down to the EFL to do a couple of weeks there. For someone like Lee Mason, who is a VAR specialist, what happens?
I would suggest corrective training. You know, somebody to speak to him and say, look, this is the process. The process goes from A to Z, if you like. You don't go from A to X and then forget the last two letters. You've got to follow it through. If it takes an extra 15, 20, 30 seconds, so be it. But you've got to be willing to sacrifice that time to get the right decision.